In the quiet hum of his workshop, Samuel cleaned the rifle. It was a ritual, a way to keep his hands busy and his mind from wandering too far back. His fingers, steady and sure, moved with a muscle memory forged in a different lifetime. But sometimes, a tremor would betray him, a ghost of the noise and the chaos he had left behind. With the rifle locked away in its case, Samuel stepped out into the afternoon sun. He walked to a small, neat greenhouse in his backyard. Inside, under a warm, golden light, stood several lush green plants. He tended to them with a gardener's gentle care, his movements slow and deliberate. This was his new ritual, his new peace. Later, as dusk settled, Samuel sat on his porch. He ground some of the dried, fragrant flower from his garden and packed it into a small wooden pipe. The ghosts were always loudest in the quiet moments, the echo of shouted orders, the phantom smell of dust and fear. They lingered at the edges of his peaceful life. He lit the pipe and took a slow, measured breath. He wasn't trying to escape. He was trying to stay. With the exhale of smoke, the sharp edges of his memories seemed to soften. The constant, buzzing alert in his mind quieted to a low hum. For a few precious moments, he was simply a man on his porch, watching the fireflies begin to dance. The screen door creaked open and his daughter, Maya, stepped out. She held a framed document in her hands. It was his old military discharge paper. "Dad," she said, her voice hesitant, "a friend's dad looked you up. He said this means you were a criminal." Samuel looked at the paper and a shadow of old shame passed over his face. He told her the story. About a night filled with terror and the desperate search for a moment of quiet afterward. About how the very plant that now grew in his garden was found in his pocket, and how the army he served had branded him with a word that followed him home. "The thing they called a crime," Samuel said, his voice quiet but clear, "is the same thing that helps me sit here with you now. The same thing that lets me sleep, without fighting the same war every night." Maya looked from her father's tired eyes to the gentle green leaves in the greenhouse. The word criminal felt wrong. It didn't fit the man who taught her how to be strong and kind, the man who tended his garden with such care. She didn't see a lawbreaker. She saw a man trying to heal. "Things are different now, Dad," she said softly. She took the frame from him and unfastened the back. "The laws are changing. People are starting to understand." She carefully slid the yellowed paper from behind the glass. Together, they walked to the small fire pit in the yard. Maya handed the paper to her father, and he let it fall into the flames. They stood side by side, watching the official words and the painful judgment curl into ash and float away into the night sky. They were letting go of an old ghost.